We're getting ready for Christmas season, and it is one of my favorite times of year. But it has not always been my favorite time of the year. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate holidays. They don't celebrate anything because, well, I'm going to be nice with how I say it. They just don't celebrate anything. I could give you the theological reasons that they give, but that's not our point. I'd been told my whole life growing up, like Christmas, it's just this pagan holiday. The idea that you could celebrate God on this holiday is, syncretism. You're pulling in all these other things. And I never did anything with it. I became a believer. I still had all of those thoughts. And so I was always, kind of concerned. We had friends that they wouldn't put up a Christmas tree. They put up a cross that they hung lights on in their house, but they would not have a Christmas tree because it was Christmas and the Christmas tree was pagan and all this kinds of things. And so I just never really got into Christmas until 2004. I'm pretty sure it was 2004. It might have been 2003. It was one of those 2 years. I read an article, I'm pretty sure it was Lee Grady that wrote it for Charisma magazine. And it was about the real origins of Christmas. And he starts going through how different things started. And he actually mentions an early church historian, Tertullian, that mentions that we know that this is the date of Christ's birth because of the census records that we still have. And that was before Constantine became a Christian. So we have records from that period of time. And so the common thing is, Christmas became it was a celebration of the sun god because it was the winter solstice and they just put in that date so that they could get the people to still have celebration, but turn it into a Christian celebration. And the more I study, the more I realize that's actually not true at all. And there's a lot of beauty in the tradition. So I thought, why don't we talk about some of the traditions and maybe what you guys have learned, what you guys think about it, and have some fun dialogue with that.
I'm still stuck on the cross with lights on it. Sorry.
No,
but in terms of the honor that the cross is supposed to be afforded, you're going to put lights on it? You might as well have a glitter Jesus. Anyway. Sorry.
Rhinestone Jesus. We are in Texas.
Sorry. I'm just like, when you get stuck, I'm just like, I'm still there. Like, that's better than a tree? Yeah, okay. All right.
Let's jump on that, though. People will do something that seems ridiculous because they think that they're more spiritual or more Christian for doing it, right? And so if it looks more Christian or it looks more spiritual, then we're going to put lights on a cross. Well, and then we have to ask the question of how is that actually more spiritual? Because Jesus died on a cross made of wood, and where does wood come from? A tree. So the art, I just don't get the logic from people sometimes, but that's where it comes from.
It'd be like having like a rhinestone.
Seem like they're doing the right thing. They want to be righteous and spiritual, and I understand that. But also, it's like, walk it back. Like, where is this really coming from? You have to ask yourself when people say these things.
So they put lights on a tree because they don't want to put lights on a tree.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
It would be like having an electric chair with like rhinestones on it. Like, it's an execution device. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we forget. Sorry. It is.
It is.
Well, in terms of like understanding our traditions, understanding our history.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody at home, maybe some of you are going to have advent calendars, right? We have 24 or 25 little chocolates, or depending on how, like, coffee subscriptions have 25 coffees.
Yep.
We're into coffee. But
it's a beautiful thing.
But we say like Advent. That Advent is the time leading up to Christmas.
Yeah.
That's not what that's about. So Advent, to the early church understanding, it's the Latin term for the appearing. There were 3 Advents that the early church expected. One was the appearing of Christ in the incarnation. The second Advent, which was a period of Advent that they were expecting, was the appearance of Christ in the hearts of his disciples. And the third Advent was his return. So the season of Advent wasn't even about leading up to Christmas. It was initiated by Christmas, and we are actually in a perpetual state of Advent until he returns.
Yes.
And so it's great that we have, like, the only reason why I made the imagery of the cross and the electric chair is we have desensitized ourselves to what some of the symbols really, really mean.
Yeah.
Like I think it was Tozer that said, the cross has no friends, it makes no treaties, it kills utterly and defeats completely.
Yes.
So in our taking images, symbols, and trying to connect our hearts to ancient truths, we have to re-examine what they are. So Advent, great, enjoy your coffee, enjoy your chocolate, but the Advent that we're really proclaiming is the image of God being born in the people of God and his penultimate rule and reign, which is why he was incarnated in the first place.
Yeah.
So to me, there's richness in the tradition if you can get rid of inherited knowledge and begin to see original intent.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, one thing I like about it is it sets a place where people now are open to searching. You know, you have the people that go at Christmas and Easter, but it causes them to pause and think, okay, is there something to it? Do I need to, and just that the spirit of joy being released. God's about celebrating. He's got the feast, and this is just a celebration, I think, that we honor that he was born, he did come to the earth, and then what does that do to people as I know they're out shopping and they're preparing all this stuff for kids. I got it. But it's just that spirit of wonderment. I think that's being released. And I know there's the other side where there's people that are lonely and going through hard times, but we're talking about this aspect.
Yeah.
And so.
So, and I think you mentioned earlier, like, you love Christmas.
I love Christmas.
Why? Tell,
So many reasons.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I grew up, my mom has always had like a hospitality heart. And so she always threw like elaborate parties for everything. So every birthday party was like the Oscars level of awesome.
Wow.
And every holiday was a giant thing. So for Christmas, we always had enough decorations where we had 2 options for each room of what theme we're going to go with that year.
Amazing.
And then we'd kind of like determine for each room, are we doing red this year? Are we doing silver? Like that was the norm. And so I got my passion for like the beauty of Christmas from her. And then I think just from a really young age, something in my spirit could just see that the love and the joy of Christ is just so alive if you look for him at Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's just in the air.
Yeah.
If you know to look for it. A lot of people call it the magic of Christmas, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with using that when you don't mean it in that bad way. But really what it is, it's the spirit of Christmas. And that spirit is our Lord and Savior who was born on that day. And so I think it's when you recognize that it's his life and his joy and his love that came into this world. That's what makes Christmas feel so special. When you bring it back past the gifts and the shining lights, which I love me a sparkly light. Okay. I'm a girly girl. I love sparkly lights. I'm not afraid to admit it. You can see my nails. Okay. I'm a girly girl. Okay. I'm not ashamed of this about myself. So I love that part of Christmas, but it's so much more than that. And so for me, it's everything. It's every layer. It's the getting to give something beautiful to someone that you love as a way of saying, I love you and I care about you. Like everything in this, if you choose to see the Lord in it, you can see the Lord in it. And his heart for generosity, his heart for joy. Like, I could go on a whole tangent, Johnny. You opened a can of worms, but
I was intending to.
I'm a Christmas girl. I there's
love it.
nothing like Christmas to me. And I look forward to it every year.
That's what it's become for me.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I'm going to pull my phone out. I apologize in advance. So some interesting things with, the 12 days of Christmas. I heard someone preach on this and I just wanted to kind of pull this out. Some of our history is so profound. I mean, think about walking through the mall. Think about some of the hymns that we hear being declared,
Yeah.
right? Hark the herald angels sing, right?
Yeah.
When you begin to listen to things that you become desensitized to, familiarized with, you begin to hear incredible declarations of the gospel being released in malls
Yes.
because we're playing seasonal music.
Yep.
I don't mean Here Comes Santa Claus. I'm talking about the stuff that exalts the Lord.
Yeah.
So the 12 Days of Christmas, it's an English Christmas carol. Roman Catholics in England were not permitted to practice their faith openly. So they found a way to remember the tenets of the faith in song. It's almost similar to if you've ever seen Irish dancing. They were not permitted to dance. So what they actually learned was a way to dance. The English would oppress them from dancing, where from the outside, you would just see people standing, moving backwards and forwards. And they learnt this style of dancing where they could express creativity
Yeah.
because in the midst of oppression. So they hid it in plain sight.
Wow.
All right. So here we have the 12 days of Christmas. So let me just run it through really quickly. So what's interesting is, on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me. It's actually Christ is the true love. This is
Yes.
what he has given to us. So the number one represents himself. The partridge in the pear tree represents him on the cross. So that's the first part of that tradition. The two turtle doves are the Old and the New Testaments. So the three French hens stand for faith, hope, and love. The four calling birds, the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The five golden rings are it's the Torah. It's the first 5 books of the Old Testament, right? The 6 geese are laying stood for the 6 days of creation.
Oh, wow.
7 swans are swimming represent the 7-fold gifts of the Holy Spirit, Romans 12, the redemptive gifts. So prophecy, serving, teaching, exhortation, contribution, leadership, and mercy. The 8 maids are milking are the 8 Beatitudes. The 9 ladies dancing are the 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit. The 10 lords are leaping are the 10 commandments. Now this is an interesting one. The 11 pipers piping stood for the 11 faithful apostles.
Yeah.
Because there were only 11 that were faithful.
Yeah.
And then the 12 drummers drumming symbolized the 12 points of belief in the Apostles' Creed.
Come on.
Wow.
So what you
Yeah,
have
beautiful,
here,
yeah.
when you sing this song, right? So we have tradition, we have repetition, we have familiarity. But you begin to re-sing that through.
Yeah.
Because that's a song, if you're trying to imprint in the spirit of somebody the essential of the faith, you're teaching kids to sing a song. Because we attach really quickly to melody
Music.
and we attach really quickly, we gravitate towards singing lyrics.
Yeah.
Because we'll sing songs that we don't even realize what we're singing sometimes. And then all of a sudden you'll hear a lyric you're saying, you're like, well, I can't sing that. What? Because there's a, do you know what I mean? There's a, hook,
Yeah.
there's a hooky melody. We're wired.
Yeah.
We're wired for beauty and we're wired for creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here you have the determination of the Catholics to understand and steward the beauty of why Christ has come. What is the faith that has once and for all been handed down to the church? So what they did was, I think, the Lord gave them a creative strategy
Yeah.
in how to navigate hard times and to hide in beauty in plain sight the truth of the gospel.
Yeah.
And isn't that really what Christmas carols are really about? Like we have people attaching to melody, there's sentiment, there's lots of fun stuff attached to it. But what's getting released over the atmosphere in those malls is Christ.
Some of the best theology that you'll find sung in a church all year.
Yep.
I
Sorry,
Yeah.
I let that one lay there.
vote for that one for
But-
next year. Well, look, I often say, look, if your theology can't be sung, like if your theology won't preach, it shouldn't be sung.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah.
love, like we had at our wedding, we had Joyful, Joyful as one of the songs because there was something about the beauty and the integrity of these writers
Yeah.
that we kind of often miss.
Yeah.
And so as simple as an English tradition, being of British lineage, when I heard that being unpacked for the first time, I'm like, that is so clever. It's so
beautiful.
creative
Yeah.
Beautiful.
and so Jehovah sneaky that it's just amazing.
Yeah. Haven't heard that term in a while.
Well, you know,
It's going to come up.
it's the name that should be in the scriptures. It's not, but it's definitely revealed by his character.
Well, it's just hidden in. It's kind of sneaky.
Yeah, I see what you did.
Yeah.
there. I see what you did there. But I think in the beauty of that, in the beauty of all of that, the reason why Christmas has something on it is because God is creative and God is beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you don't engage with beauty and you don't engage with creativity, you miss a complete facet of who he is.
Yeah.
I think of those people that, so what we did with our kids, we have 3 kids, and what we did with them, because my husband Bob, he loves to celebrate and he's the creative one out of both of us. And he didn't want the kids to miss out on the fun of Christmas. And then you think, oh, you shouldn't teach them about Santa Claus and, all those things.
Mhm.
And he says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to celebrate, but we're going to tell them the truth, that there is no Santa Claus. And we had to really tell our kids, don't tell the kids at school now, But, so we would just always tell them the truth. But we had we went and let them sit on Santa's lap and take pictures, and we let them have the candy canes and the parties and all the gifts and everything. We celebrated, but they knew the truth, you know.
Yeah.
And of always reading the story of the nativity scene, the nativity, always having up a nativity scene, and just focusing on that, but yet celebrating Christmas. And the kids didn't miss out, you know, because they go to school, all the kids are talking about it. What gifts did you get? The parties, you know. I think that's kind of cruel to have your kids miss out on it. If you know, so there's a way of celebrating and still maintaining walking in the truth.
Absolutely. Because it's the Christmas episode, I have to share a funny story on what you just said, because we have to have some light in the middle of the theology. Okay, so my parents did tell me Santa was real. Okay. And my only sibling is 5 years older than me.
Okay.
And so she knew, obviously, before I did, that Santa wasn't real.
Yeah.
And I'm in kindergarten, and I just learned to read.
Yeah.
And in my sister's bedroom is a book called Santa, Are You For Real? And I went, oh, that's interesting. And my little 5-year-old self waddles over to it, and I take it off the shelf, and I start reading it. And it tells me Santa's not real. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in shock. I'm like, I have been lied to. So I go and I tell my family, and they're like, yes, like, but did you read the book? And I was like, yes, it told me about St. Nick. That's great. But Santa's not real, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm always very much like an advocate for justice. And when I was little, I didn't understand that there's a time and place. So my little self went to my kindergarten class. And during show and tell, my show and tell was you've been lied to. Santa is not real. And I'm going to protect you from this evil that has been said to you because I care about you. I thought I was advocating for these kids. Like, I thought I was their hero that was fighting for them. I got sent to the principal's office, which as a child I was sent there often because I liked to stand up for the other kids, and you know. So when the teacher would yell at the kids, I would say that's not nice. So she would send me to the principal's office. Christmas was the prime example of that, where I was like, "Oh, you're being lied to." So when you said that you told your kids not to tell, I was like, "Well, no one told me that." So, and if they did, I didn't hear it because in my mind I was like, "No, this is wrong. That we must write." So I had to throw that in there because I was that kid. I was the kid that ruined your child's Christmas. I'm sorry, friends. I thought I was doing the right thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
But think about how all those kids grew up and now they've got a great story to tell, just like you, and they get to laugh. You know?
What they're going to be telling their friends, this one
Exactly.
crazy girl showed up at kindergarten class and told us all that Santa wasn't real. And that's how I found out.
See, great memories.
Yeah, they will always remember me for my crazy advocacy. You know,
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Well, I found out when I was 3. I remember exactly where I was, but I was hushed. And I think I kept to that. My justice bent had not quite come out yet like yours.
I thought I was a superhero.
You're a hero in this story to me. I'm like, I've just got this picture of you like, okay, let me give you the skinny.
No.
You all being lied to?
I had
We need to rise up
hero
against.
complex as a kid. Like, I was a little 5-year-old on the playground breaking up fights with bullies, saying, well, if you're going to fight someone, you're going to fight me. And this little 5-year-old girl is standing up to this like 8-year-old boy saying, no. I had a serious hero issue as a child. But the Lord uses it for good,
Yeah.
right? I thought I was Kim Possible. I was just a 5-year-old child, right? But it was funny at Christmas time.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I mean, that ties into like your kids, how you represent Christmas to them matters.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
and so my parents were so great about it always. But that was like the one thing where I was so upset that they didn't tell me. But then I fell in love with it being a story. And I fell in love with how you can hide beautiful things within other things. And so I love tying back to what you were saying earlier, Daniel. Like, one of my favorite things about being a writer is hiding truth in plain sight.
Yeah.
That is what made me fall in love with story. It's what made me fall in love with song, that you can hide so much of the character of God right under someone's nose.
Yeah.
And they don't even see it, but man, is it making an impact because it plants that little seed in their spirit. And so that's something that I love about Christmas. I love the carols at the mall where it's just under their nose.
Yeah.
And I love all the metaphors and all the little things because once people see it, they can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And then they see how the Lord was there all along, just under their nose, trying to get their attention.
But think about all the good that comes out you know, the food, you know, like at streams, we're giving food and all the help that comes out because people are really more giving. That spirit of giving and generosity comes out. I think you mentioned about. And helping each other, helping strangers, you know, in their time, and that touches them. That's a seed that's sown, and whether they recognize it at that moment or acknowledge it, it's a seed that's sown, that somebody cared. And so,
But we're created for this rhythm of community. Right, so you mentioned the feasts, which were actually God's feasts, not Israel's feasts. But there's something about we've lost a little bit of the ability to celebrate and demark certain milestones in life, right? So Christmas is one of those rhythms, like being Australian, if you can't tell by the accent, you know, we don't have Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite leads in because this is like my high eating holidays. I'm like, we got pumpkin pie coming, I got turkey coming, like I'm like in.
Pecan pie with caramel sauce. It'll change your world.
I'll eat anything at this point. I'm like, just not candied yams. Get those little marshmallows away from me. They make no sense. But
this is your feast.
Yeah, but this is my I like stretchy pants. Like we can deal with diets in the new year. But there's something about the rhythm of family. But what I've learned is when you're not near biological family, you actually connect to the family that you choose.
Yes.
And there's something about that rhythm of connection. Like we're not made for isolation. We're made for rhythm. We're made for community. And it's even our bodies are geared. I mean, I read a thing. We actually sleep more in winter because our bodies are wired by the Lord to be seasonal.
Yes.
And if we don't have the ability to mark the occasions, we lose something.
Yeah.
We lose, like I said, with the whole Advent thing, we are actually prophesying to something when we celebrate Christmas. We're celebrating something that has been. That's the whole thing about the feasts of the Lord. That's also translated as the rehearsals of the Lord.
Yeah.
So those initial feasts are being fulfilled. They're also fulfilled and pointing to Christ.
Yes.
And so when we gather around Advent, when we gather around the nativity scene, we're prophesying to a returning conquering king. Because if he incarnated, if that miracle initiated everything, once he was incarnated, it was done. Once God is in the flesh and he is here, everything that was lost by Adam is going to be restored by the last. And so there's something even if it's candy canes, however it is, we all have a different rhythm of life. But the essence of what we're doing is we are marking time with God. That this is another Christmas where we are coming closer to Maranatha. Every Christmas we are coming closer to Maranatha. There's rhythms to what we do. And we're just pointing to the ultimate fulfillment of every feast, of every hope, of every single thing is in his return.
No, I didn't catch it at the time, but the first time that I ever heard the gospel, I was in elementary school. Because I was Jehovah's Witness. And so there is a form of the gospel that's not actually the gospel. But the first time that I heard the gospel was at school. The teacher was teaching on the candy cane. And why it was white and red and the crook and the whole thing. And shared that as a part of our getting ready for the holiday. And here I am being taught a false gospel, and somebody just offers me the true with a story. I cannot remember anything else that teacher said. But I remember the story. There's something about story that we've lost. Like, you can give facts all day long, and people will rarely remember facts. I mean, some people have got the head for it. I mean, you don't want to play trivia with those people, and I'm not one of those people. There's some things that I can remember, but you put it in a story, and there's something that grabs hold. It's no longer just hitting the mind. It actually hits the heart as well as the mind. And it anchors something, and we're retelling this story every single year. The light has come. The light of the world has come. And it may look dark, but it's gonna get brighter. We're prophesying to that coming. We're prophesying he came and he is coming. And just that release, just that story alone, even if everything about Christmas was completely made up, I don't believe it is. That's a whole nother, we don't have time to go into. We could talk about the Christmas tree, where it actually came from, because it actually is Christian. But that's, even if it would be worth it, because it's communicating the story.
Yeah.
And stories grab hearts. Yes. Facts intrigue some people that might be interested, but they have to already be interested.
Yep.
But stories, they grab the heart. And that's, I think that's what we got to hold on to. Yeah. Let's retell the story. Let's be the story and retell the story. And instead of trying to hinder other people from stepping in, let's find ways of getting it out there as much as possible. Yeah. It's on everybody's mind. I mean, this is a great season. Share your faith. Tell somebody. We have a great opportunity. The world, and here in America specifically, we've got people that have come from all kinds of cultures that don't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
We've got people from the Middle East. There is no Christmas in it's not a popular thing. It's not a cultural thing. A lot of the church is underground. And so they celebrate Christmas, but not publicly, not like we do. Now all of a sudden it's being broadcast. And we have an opportunity. I mean, lots of Asia, they don't celebrate Christmas. They've got all their other festivals. This is an opportunity where we can share the gospel to people that haven't heard. And I think we should just take every opportunity. Why waste an opportunity?
Yeah.
We got a megaphone that's reaching the whole world. We might as well use it.
That's good. That's really good. I just even think in the neighborhood, we always put out a nativity scene outside in our yard, and the neighbors will walk by and these little kids and they stop, and so Bob will be out there and he'll be explaining what that baby is. In fact, Jesus was stolen from our nativity scene outside one time. And so he had to go to Walmart.
People keep on trying to take Christ out of Christmas.
Where'd Jesus go? And so he went to Walmart, bought a doll, and we wrapped it up, and he nailed it to because he was
That's prophetic.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. He nailed it into the little print that we had.
Wow.
Anyway, so they'd be walking by, and so Bob would, he'd be, because he was out there a lot, and he would talk to them like, do you know who this is? And all that. And the parents would just be standing there, and he would just be talking and telling them the story, just even in that simple little thing.
Wow.
I didn't think about our Jesus being stolen.
Well, even in cultural movies like It's a Wonderful Life, the story of redemption.
Yeah.
It is all the way through. We can't get away from this narrative.
Yeah.
We just can't. It doesn't matter which Christmas movie it is.
Yeah.
There is always something in the Christmas movie that either restores, gives, reveals kindness. Yeah. I mean, even in Home Alone.
Elf?
Right.
He connected with Elf. Think about it. It's all the way through. You can't get redemption, hope, and kindness out of the DNA of Christmas.
So good.
You just can't.
Yeah, that's good.
And that alone should be enough proof that God's in it somehow.
Amen.
Yeah.